Hi, how are you doing? I hope you're having a great day. I have Jonathan with me. About a month ago, Jonathan was helping me look through some magic tricks. And while we were looking through the magic tricks, we found a puzzle. It wasn't a normal puzzle, it didn't have a picture on it, it was just a bunch of weird pieces and a frame. Jonathan got really excited when he saw the puzzle and he quickly put it together. Or at least we thought he did. But then we realized there was another piece, an extra piece, one that didn't look like it fit, one that we didn't necessarily feel like we needed or even wanted. Sometimes I think life feels like there's an extra piece. There's something that happens that we don't want, we don't think we need, we don't see how it fits with everything else in our lives. For example, today a couple of our kids had to go to the dentist to get teeth filled because of cavities. I don't think they wanted to have cavities. I don't think they wanted to spend time at the dentist. I don't think they really wanted to have their teeth filled. And I'm sure that we didn't want the bill that went along with all of it. But you know what? It happened, and we had to deal with it. There's a lot of things that happen in life that aren't necessarily things that we want or things that we feel like we need. Paul had one of those times. He probably had a lot of those times, actually. But in the book of Philippians, Paul is in prison when he writes the letter. And in chapter 4, verses 6 through 9, he writes, "Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you." Then, if you drop down to verse 12, it says, "I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do everything through him who gives me strength." And then dropping down to verse 19, it says, "And my God will meet all your needs according to his glorious riches in Christ Jesus." Paul could have gotten discouraged. He could have gotten down. He could have felt overwhelmed and like he couldn't handle it. But instead, he looked to God. And Jonathan, you can go ahead. You can work on putting that together. And while he does that, let me just note a few things from Philippians 4. While Paul is in prison, he says, "Rejoice in the Lord always." He says, "Don't worry, but pray." He says, don't keep running the negative what ifs or what could be scenarios through your head, but instead think about the things that are true, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy. He says, be content. He says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. He says, my God will supply all my needs according to his riches in glory. Paul doesn't focus on himself and the woe is me, this is terrible, I can't handle it. Paul focuses on God and says, rejoice. He looks to God and who God is and what God can do. And you know what? the extra piece doesn't necessarily disappear. God helps him with being in prison. God helps us in life, and somehow he works that extra piece into the puzzle. In Romans 8, we're told that nothing can separate us from the love of God and that he'll work it all out for good. Whether you're in the midst of a tough time right now or some extra thing comes along the way, remember, focus on God, rejoice in him, and remember who he is and what he can do.